Hello there, and welcome to the Market Access. In this video, we will talk about bonds. What are they, how do they work, and what is their purpose? Alright, let's get started. So what are bonds? Just like I did in the previous video regarding stocks, we need to take a tiny step back to understand where do bonds come from. If you have not seen the video explaining stocks, I will put a link to it at the end of this video. To finance its operations, a company needs liquidity, fancy word for cash, but sometimes there isn't enough cash to do so. In such cases, the company needs to search for cash from external investors. There are usually two ways to generate cash flow into a company. The first option is to attract new investors that want to have a stake in the company and therefore decide to buy the company's shares. The second option is to ask for a loan to a third party in exchange for interest payments and the return of the loan at some point in time. Just so you know, these third parties I am talking about could be people or could be other businesses. So in the first case, the company will sell its stocks, and in the second case, the company will issue what are called bonds. I would like to clarify something real quick, and I will repeat this statement at the end of the video to make sure it sticks to you. The main difference between stocks and bonds is that stocks represent ownership of a company. When you buy shares of stock, you partially own a company. Bonds, on the other hand, represent debt. When you buy bonds, you lend money to a company, but you do not have ownership of the company itself. So stocks equal ownership, bonds equal form of debt. Bonds are a financial instrument that can be used by corporations as well, but generally speaking, when you talk about bonds, you talk about a country's bond. Yes, a country, such as the USA or Italy or Canada. Now, why should someone buy bonds? As we mentioned earlier, bonds represent a loan that will eventually be paid off. The bond's issuer, most commonly a country, in exchange for this loan will pay out some interest to whomever lends the money. These interest payments are called coupons. Here's a coupon example. I buy a $1,000 fixed rate bond at 3% that will mature in 5 years. I will tell you later what maturing means. Every year for the next 5 years, I will receive a $30 coupon. After 5 years, the country that issued the bond will give me my $1,000 back and will stop paying me coupons. So during the first year, I received $30, second year 30, third year 30, fourth year 30, and fifth and final year 30, for a total of $150. My $1,000 investment, which will be returned at the end of the fifth year, generated a $150 profit in 5 years. In the example, I utilized the word mature. Let me explain. Bonds, like all loans, have a deadline to be paid off. Usually, bonds have a fixed rate maturity date, which is when the issuer will pay back the money lent to the buyer. The maturity date can vary based on the type of bond issue and are usually longer than 1 year. Again, usually the longer it takes for a bond to mature, the higher the coupon rate will be. There are many types of bonds, and I will not bore you by listing all of them, but here are the most common ones. Fixed rate bonds, which offer a fixed rate of interest for the duration of the bond. Floating rate bonds, the interest rate can vary throughout the investment. Zero interest bonds, or zero coupon bonds, which are bonds that do not provide coupons but are sold at a discount of their value. And callable bonds, bonds where the issuer can pay off the debt at any time before the maturity date. Bonds, just like stocks, can be sold privately or publicly on specific markets. Needless to say that most retail investors choose bonds that are traded publicly. So here's a recap. What are bonds? Bonds are contracts to borrow money from investors. The corporation or country promises to pay the money back in a certain amount of time, and in the meanwhile, it will pay out to the bonds holder some interest for lending their money. So lastly, stocks equal ownership, whereas bonds equal debt. Hey, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and it provided some added value, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with the next videos. As I promised, in the bottom left corner you will have the link to the video regarding the stocks. See you next time!